All right, welcome to my next video. So, you probably read the title, you probably know what I'm going to talk about. But before we get started, I have to say a big thank you to all the comments and support, and I never expected to get over 100 views on my first few videos. I expected to get like 3 views and like maybe 2 subscribers. So I know a lot of it's my friends and family, so you guys, I love you, thank you. And for the people that don't know me personally and are subscribing and watching my videos, super big thank you. And also, I know my last video got ratioed a little bit, like the Xbox guys showed up big time and they were not happy with my thumbnail. And yeah, I'm a Sony fan. I should be more specific. I don't like vitriol fanboys. I'm not trying to be vitriol or spew hate towards Xbox. I've owned all the Xboxes. I still have the original and 360. And they're great consoles. But anyway. But because I got some crazy feedback in the last video, stick around till the end. I've got a little surprise for you. But anyway, let's jump into it and talk about the elephant in the room. By now, you guys have all heard about the rumor of why we haven't seen a PS5 box yet. And it's this rumor of it overheating and whatnot. And this all came from a single YouTube comment. And it's been getting a ton of traction, and a bunch of people are taking it as gospel. And I've seen a bunch of interesting things happen. As far as I know, it got retracted, and the people that supposedly supported this no longer do. So if you're an Xbox fanboy and you're back, fasten your seatbelt. You're not going to like the truth here. But on a side note, I'm going to link a video in the description from an up-and-coming YouTuber that I really like, who went into great detail about why this is more than likely false, and it should be taken with a huge grain of salt. And you should go watch that video. But anyway, I'm going to get to the point here. First, the first point that this guy talks about, he's like, he knows people, and the collective feeling from the industry is that Sony screwed up. And I'm sorry if I look away a lot this time in the video. I'm looking down at my notes. I try to script it, but I'm still going to say a lot. Sorry. So he says that the collective feeling is that Sony screwed up and they underestimated Microsoft and the Xbox Series X. So that is a very generalized statement, and that can be said historically about Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. From the SNES to the N64, Nintendo kind of rested on its laurels and went with a cartridge, thinking that was the way of the future, and Sony took a big market share, and here we are today with PS4 and PS5. And then, you know, from PS2 to PS3, Sony got a little lax. They had the Titan that was the PS2, and they thought that they could just come in with a huge price tag and this fancy Blu-ray player and dominate the market. And then they went from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, and Microsoft thought that they could do some crazy things with DRM and the cloud, and people weren't having it. So they all have rested on their laurels before going into the next generation, and I think they've all learned their lesson. So this is a generalized statement, and he has zero facts to back this up. It was just a comment, right? He said thing is, all companies have done this, and this sounds just like somebody being pretty salty about next generation. Second, PlayStation 5 has heating problems to rival Xbox 360, and that's why there will be delays. So this guy is saying that it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, if there is a delay, he can say, see, you had heating issues, like I said. Well, we don't really know that because no one said that. But also, Sony is specifically regulating power intake, voltage, like electricity, not power like people are talking about teraflops power. But power, as in like power from the wall. They're taking in a very specific amount, and that's why they have variable frequencies. And Mark Cerny was very smug when he said on stage that he thought developers would like the cooling solution that they've come up with. So he's very specifically saying that they've considered cooling and heat already, and they considered that when they were talking about pulling power from the wall. Third, he asks, do we find it odd that we haven't seen hardware despite pressure from Microsoft? Nope, not even a little. I am not surprised. They announced PS4 in February of the year it came out, and they didn't show it till E3 of launch here, so June or July or whatever. And based on track record, Sony isn't doing anything strange here or anything different, and Microsoft can't really pressure them. Sony has market dominance. Microsoft can get a conversation started, and yeah, that's what's happening right now. Is we have a lot of people like Xbox wins because Xbox is the only person saying anything. You know, the only side of the coin saying anything. But that's not true in reality. We just aren't getting a lot of information. He said, you know, then the M.2 drive is getting hot. M.2 drives do get hot. That is common. They have heat sinks on them. But they don't get so hot that you would have to redesign the whole system unless you did something incredibly wrong. Yes, PCI Gen 4 is new. PCI is the connection type between the processor and the SSD itself, and Gen 4 is the newest and latest greatest thing, and there's not a lot that supports it, so Sony is going with something that's very, very new. So yeah, there might be some heat there, but I seriously doubt that they would stop production. He's like saying also that the redesign would look like Microsoft's tower. This looks like a complete shot in the dark and another self-fulfilling prophecy, because if it does come out and it looks like, you know, a vertical thing instead of a classic horizontal VCR, DVD player, or console, he's gonna be like, oh look, they redesigned it like I said, and it's now a tower. But you know, Sony could be thinking relatively the same thing. Xbox and Sony had very similar looking consoles last generation. Xbox was a little beefy, and Sony had the little diagonal thing going on. But both consoles had like a glossy side and a matte side, so that was really interesting. From the top, they look very similar. And then he's like, do you find it odd that there's no launch titles? No, I don't. He's like, reason? Oh, so he assumed I'd say yes. Then tell me why it's odd there's no launch titles. He says, that the developers don't know what to optimize for. I hate when people use the word optimize. I have a background in computer science, which, if you don't know what that means, that's basically software engineering. And when it comes to optimization of code, it goes from a hardware and a software perspective, yes, but it doesn't always come down to this just, we're going to optimize it. It sounds like you press a button, like optimize, and it gets better and it gets better. That's not how optimization works. Somebody has to go in and code and look at things. But here's the thing, if you're running on Unreal Engine or you're running on Unity, those things are not going to be optimized for the new consoles. Specifically because most of the time they are dealing with the APIs or the interface between the hardware and the software, and you're not digging that deep into it to make it as good as possible unless you're a huge studio using those engines. A lot of developers use their own custom engines, especially like some of the bigger developers out there that make some of these great games, like Spider-Man, for instance. Anyway, so also, just because developers can't optimize what the game is going to look like, that has never stopped a developer in the past, ever, from showing off a game. Watch Dogs didn't look like its final launch product. Rainbow Six didn't look like its final launch product. And Destiny looked nothing like its final launch product when it was shown to the public. So saying that they don't want to show it off because it's not optimized, it's never stopped a dev before. And then he said people closest to him have said it's really bad, and they're just hoping to weather this off the PlayStation name. Yeah, no. There's no way that this late in the timeline Sony's just going to throw their hands up and release a big, literal, hot, steaming pile of garbage. That's not going to happen. Sony's too big of a company to put out trash like that. It's not like they're putting out the Atari box. Shots fired. And then he said, "You've been warned!" And it's like, ooh, scare tactics, more conjecture about the whole Sony, the whole of Sony and what they've done. It's like, you can't really put words in the mouths of a giant corporation. And he's like, now talking about at the very end about there's a debate internally if there's going to be a delay. I don't think that's really happening. I think the debate to delay is not based on the console the console overheating. I think it's based on console manufacturing. This is again another self-fulfilling prophecy. If it does get delayed, there's a number of factors at play. We're all in quarantine right now. The whole world's worried about this thing happening outside that doesn't let us go outside. Manufacturing's coming to a halt, and we've talked about how all these kind of regulations are affecting the computer industry as a whole, and to think that the consoles are not going to be hurt by that. There might be delays. They said holiday season, so it could be like really, really close to December, not like a November launch like last time. So we'll see. But I think if there's a delay, here's the thing: we can't say if there's a delay or not because we haven't seen a release date. We can't say if there's a delay for the Xbox because we haven't seen a release date. And then, we can't say that there's a redesign because we haven't seen the design of the PlayStation. If Xbox redesigns, then we know because we've seen it. But at the same time, like, this is just, he's, like, spouting out what he thinks with no fact other than trust me. And the most telling thing here was that Jason Schreier from Kotaku straight up said, this is complete hogwash. And Jason Schreier is an industry insider, so let's just take it for what it is, as a big rumor and a big grain of salt, because I don't think any of this is true. Now, he also talks a little bit about optimizing for it is near impossible. Here's the thing: he's already said that he's not in the industry. He's in the industry at the very beginning of his post, and he doesn't say that he's actually a developer. He just says he works in another portion of the industry. How would he know what optimization looks like? And I don't care what a dev is telling him. I see devs talking trash about Sony all the time, and then it turns out that they develop strictly for Microsoft or Xbox. It's like, well, no wonder they're talking trash about the competition. That's not an unbiased opinion. But this guy just says it can't be developed for very easily. Well, that flies in the face of what Sony said. One of their biggest things was they wanted to get developers up and running on it quickly, and he said it takes about 2 or 3 weeks. So that's conjecture at best. There's no way this guy knows what optimization looks like in software. Because it can come in a lot of forms and look a lot different depending on who you talk to. And then also a side note, there was a Crytek developer who had to remove their interview for personal reasons, but they said that the PS5 is one of the easiest consoles they've ever developed for, and that it was amazing to develop for and very easy to develop for. The thing is probably the reason this was retracted for personal reasons was there was an NDA, or a non-disclosure agreement. Somebody probably wasn't supposed to talk. If they were allowed to talk, we would have seen a lot more from devs, because we know Sony has been talking to devs all over the country and all over the world about the PS5, because he got feedback from developers. He talked about that in his Road to PS5 conference. So we know for a fact that Sony's talking to developers, and developers have dev kits. This exists, and we aren't hearing anything, not because devs are scared, or not because the box is overheating, but because there's probably a non-disclosure agreement. So where is the box really? Where is the hardware that this thing is going to come in? It's probably just in manufacturing. They're just probably holding the design close to their chest. They don't want to show too much yet, and that's fine. But it's a little early, according to Sony's track record, for them to show us the box. But the box exists. I doubt it's going to get a redesign. It's probably going to come out looking crazy, because Sony seemed pretty smug about the cooling solution, so that'll be pretty interesting. Okay, so now for the fun part that I was telling you about at the beginning. If you stuck around, this will be fun. I'm going to read you a couple of the most vitriol comments that I got from last episode. I don't like the downvotes on my video, but if you don't like the video, downvote my video, that's fine. But if you like it, please leave a like. Please subscribe. I'm going to put out content as much as I can here. But I definitely got the Xbox bots riled up with that total clickbait thumbnail, which was to be expected, and I was just going to see how it worked out. But it worked out pretty great. But anyway, I'm just going to let you guys read the comments, and if these people aren't nice in the future, I might actually report them, because some of these were very, very mean. But let's go over here. Oh, there's Audacity. We're going to go over here and read some of these comments. My favorite one is probably this guy right here. The moment a person types Xbot or Pony You know they are a virgin who should kill themselves. Losers who take video games way too blanking serious. Xbox fans are morons, but PlayStation fans are just 10 times as pathetic. I also noticed 99% of the people fighting over plastic video game boxes are fat white virgins like Azreow. Read these links and weep. And then if you go to these are all Xbox fanboy links. So the hilarious part of all of this is he's talking about Xbox fans are morons. Well, I guess you're a moron. But sorry for you headphone users, I laughed. My laugh is pretty crazy. But fat white virgins. I am fat, I am white, but I have 2 kids, so I'm definitely not a virgin. I'm married. Most of you probably don't know that. Which is pretty funny because this one, you're a 12-year-old. You're, like, you own it. Oh, crap.
Was 50%.
Okay. He said, you're a 12-year-old with the comprehension of a 5-year-old. I felt really good about how Xbox... He goes to a Phil Spencer quote, and I was like, you're LOLOL, you Xbox have the most intellectual and thorough arguments. Thanks for the comments. So if you're gonna be... this Alan Wilson guy comes at me again. A fat Sony fanboy with no life. People that know me in reality know how funny this is to me because this is not true at all. Probably shouldn't tell people to kill themselves though. That's a terrible thing to say to people. But these comments are great. I love your well thought out arguments coming at me. Now, my favorite comment from last video was Dina Thompson here. I don't know who this person is. Maybe I should. Maybe there's somebody I actually know. I haven't looked at my Facebook in a while. I have a hard time with names. But this is what I've been searching for. Please make more videos explaining tech for dummies like me. Can you make more videos breaking down what Cortex talks about in your linked video? Thanks. Keep making these awesome videos. Subscribe. And I really enjoyed that comment. That was very encouraging. And I do plan to make more videos. I know I'm not keeping them brief, but this is what I like to do. So I love talking about games. And if you like listening to somebody talk about games, if you like watching the gameplay reels I put up and stuff, and the trailers and stuff, just give my video a like and subscribe. And if you put a really nice and encouraging comment, I will probably read it at the end of my next video. So this is probably something I'm going to do going forward. I'll probably read a mean comment and read a nice comment just for fun. I haven't come up with a name for that segment yet, but yeah, leave a comment, and if it's a really nice, encouraging comment, I'll read it on my next video and give you a shout out. If it's a really mean comment, I'll let everyone know how intellectual you are. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for hanging with me in this long video. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.